When you were a child, summer felt endless. 3 months could stretch so long it almost felt like another lifetime. A single school year felt massive. A birthday took forever to come back around. Even one afternoon outside could feel like it had a beginning, a middle, and an ending. And then something happened. Now entire weeks disappear before you even notice them. Months pass like background noise. You blink in January, and suddenly it is June. You blink again, and another year of your life is gone. Most people assume this is just what aging feels like. But that is not quite right, because time is not actually speeding up. The clock is doing exactly what it has always done. 60 seconds is still 60 seconds. 1 year is still one trip around the sun. What changed was not time. What changed was you. Your brain is no longer recording your life the way it used to. And the older you get, the more aggressively it starts compressing your days, deleting the details and turning entire years into summaries. So when you say life feels faster now, you're not imagining it. You're feeling your own memory system throw parts of your life away. To understand why this happens, you have to start with something strange. There are actually two kinds of time. There is the time you feel while something is happening, and there is the time you remember after it is over. And these two versions of time are not the same thing. Think about sitting in a boring waiting room with no phone, no music, and nothing to look at except a clock on the wall. 5 minutes can feel painfully long. Every second announces itself. Your mind keeps checking. Has it been long enough? Is it almost over? Why is this taking so long? But later that night, when you try to remember that waiting room, the whole thing collapses into almost nothing. It becomes one empty sentence. I waited for a while. Now think about a vacation, a new city, new streets, new food, a hotel room you have never slept in before. Strange sounds outside the window, different air, different light, different people. While you're there, the days may fly by. You're busy, you're moving, you're not watching the clock. But when you look back, those days feel huge. They are full of scenes. You remember the restaurant, the wrong turn, the smell of rain on a street you did not know, the small argument, the view from the window, the person sitting across from you. In the moment, the vacation felt fast. In memory, it feels long. That is the first secret. Your brain does not measure the length of your life by clocks. It measures it by how much it had to save. And when you were a child, it had to save almost everything. The world was new then, not in a poetic way, literally new. The first time you saw the ocean, your brain had no folder for that. The first time you rode a bike, it had to build the experience from scratch. The first day of school, the first time you slept away from home, the first time you got lost in a store, the first time you realized adults could be wrong, the first time another child hurt your feelings on purpose. Your childhood was not slow because time moved differently. It was slow because your brain was drowning in firsts. Every room had to be mapped. Every face had to be learned. Every rule had to be tested. Every danger had to be understood. Your brain was not just living through the day. It was building the world. This is why the memories feel so dense. A single childhood summer might contain 100 things your brain had never seen before. New places, new games, new fears, new injuries, new friendships, new embarrassments, new discoveries. Your brain treated all of it as important because it did not know what would matter yet. So it recorded more, and when you look back, that summer feels enormous because memory is not measuring how many days passed. It is measuring how many landmarks were left behind, but then you grow up, and slowly, almost invisibly, the firsts begin to run out. You wake up in the same room, you reach for the same phone, you check the same apps, you take the same route, you do the same work, you have the same kinds of conversations, you eat the same food, you sit in the same chair, you scroll through the same feeds, you go to sleep around the same time. Nothing is wrong exactly, but almost nothing is new, and your brain notices. It starts becoming efficient. It stops recording Tuesday as a separate event. It groups Tuesday with Monday and Wednesday and Thursday, because from the brain's point of view, they are basically the same file. Same room, same screen, same route, same problems, same night. A week becomes a blur, a month becomes a folder, a year becomes a label work. Bills, stress, summer, winter, another year. That is why adulthood can feel so terrifyingly fast. Not because the days are shorter, but because so many of them leave no trace. Your brain is not built to remember everything, it is built to survive. And from a survival standpoint, repetition is cheap. If nothing new happened, there is no need to store every detail. Your brain can summarize it, compress it, and move on. This is useful. It is also horrifying because it means you can be alive for an entire year and barely remember living it. Scientists have spent decades trying to understand why time changes with age, and there are several pieces to the answer. One of the simplest is proportional. When you're 5 years old, 1 year is 20% of your entire life. It is massive. It is the difference between being a baby and being a child, between not knowing how to read and suddenly reading signs, cereal boxes, and words on a screen. But when you're 50, 1 year is only 2% of your life. Your brain has more years to compare it against. So the same amount of clock time feels smaller against the size of the life behind you. A year at 5 is a continent. A year at 50 is a street you have already driven down. That explanation makes sense, but it is not the whole story, because if that were all it was, every year would feel faster no matter what you did. But that is not true. Some weeks still feel long, some trips still feel huge, some moments still expand in your memory and refuse to disappear. That is because novelty changes the brain. When something new happens, your brain pays attention differently. Novel experiences activate memory systems more strongly. They tell the hippocampus, the part of your brain deeply involved in forming memories, that this moment might matter. Dopamine also seems to play a role. Most people think of dopamine as the pleasure chemical, but that is too simple. Dopamine is also tied to motivation, learning, reward, attention, and the feeling that something is worth noticing. Novelty is one of the brain's oldest signals for importance. A new sound in the dark could be a predator. A new plant could be food or poison. A new face could be a friend, a rival, or a threat. A new path could lead to water. A new mistake could get you killed. For your ancestors, paying attention to new things was not entertainment. It was survival. So your brain evolved to mark novelty. It says, save this, routine says something else. Skip it. And that is the brutal part. Your modern life is full of things designed to occupy your attention without becoming memories. You can spend 2 hours scrolling and feel stimulated the entire time. New videos, new posts, new faces, new arguments, new jokes, new disasters. Your brain is busy, your thumb keeps moving, your eyes keep tracking, your attention keeps getting pulled. But later, almost none of it remains. You remember that you were on your phone, that is it. The time is gone, but it left no landmark. This is one of the strangest traps of modern life. We have created a world that can consume your attention without creating a memory. And when attention disappears into something your brain does not keep, life feels shorter, not immediately, not while it is happening. While you're scrolling, time may feel fast because you're absorbed. But later, when your brain looks back and finds almost nothing there, those hours collapse. This is why some of your fastest feeling days are not the days when you were asleep. They are the days when you were awake but barely present. There is another layer to this. As you age, your brain may also become less sensitive to the boundaries between events. When you're young, the world changes around you constantly. New schools, new teachers, new friends, new bodies, new fears, new versions of yourself. Your life is broken into clear chapters, and your brain can see the borders. Before school, after we moved. The year I broke my arm, the summer I learned to swim, the teacher I hated, the friend I lost. Childhood is full of borders. Adulthood often is not. One workday blends into another, one grocery trip into another, one rent payment into another, one dinner into another. You're still living, but the chapters are harder to see. And without chapters, memory becomes fog. This is one of the strangest traps of modern life. We have created a world that can consume your attention without creating a memory. And when attention disappears into something your brain does not keep, life feels shorter. Not immediately, not while it is happening. While you're scrolling, time may feel fast because you're absorbed. But later, when your brain looks back and finds almost nothing there, those hours collapse. This is why some of your fastest feeling days are not the days when you were asleep. They are the days when you were awake but barely present. There is another layer to this. As you age, your brain may also become less sensitive to the boundaries between events. When you are young, the world changes around you constantly. New schools, new teachers, new friends, new bodies, new fears, new versions of yourself. Your life is broken into clear chapters, and your brain can see the borders. Before school, after we moved. The year I broke my arm. The summer I learned to swim. The teacher I hated. The friend I lost. Childhood is full of borders. Adulthood often is not. One workday blends into another, one grocery trip into another, one rent payment into another, one dinner into another. You're still living, but the chapters are harder to see. And without chapters, memory becomes fog. Adulthood is often a machine. Wake up, work, eat, scroll, sleep, repeat. And the machine may be comfortable, it may even be successful, but memory does not care how successful a day looked from the outside. It only cares whether there was something distinct enough to keep. This is where the fear comes in. Because if your brain is compressing repeated days, then a life built entirely out of repetition may feel short, no matter how long it actually lasts. You could live 80 years and only remember 20, not because the other 60 did not happen, but because they happened too similarly. People often say they want life to be easier, less stress, less uncertainty, fewer surprises, more comfort, more control. And of course they do. Uncertainty is exhausting, but there is a cost to removing too much friction from your life. There is a cost to letting every day become predictable, every evening become a screen, every week become a copy of the one before it. The cost is not just boredom, the cost is memory. Your brain begins to erase what it can predict, and then years later, you look back and feel like time was stolen from you. But it was not stolen. It was compressed. There is a difference. Stolen time is gone because someone took it. Compressed time is gone because your brain decided it did not need the details. And in a strange way, your brain is right. It cannot keep everything. If it tried, you would drown in your own past. Forgetting is not a failure. Forgetting is one of the ways the brain protects you. The problem is that modern life gives the brain too much forgettable material. Too many identical days, too many empty hours, too many moments that feel stimulating while they happen and meaningless once they pass. So the real question is not, how do you stop time? You cannot. The question is, how do you give your brain more reasons to remember? The answer is not dramatic at first. You do not have to disappear into the mountains or move to another country. You do not have to destroy your life just to feel awake inside it. You have to interrupt the pattern. Take a different route home. Eat somewhere you have never eaten. Talk to someone without checking your phone. Learn something difficult. Go somewhere alone. Build something with your hands. Watch the sunset without recording it. Ask someone a question you have never asked them before. Do one thing your future self can actually point to and say, that was different, because difference creates landmarks. And landmarks are what memory uses to measure a life. This is why your childhood felt so long, it was covered in landmarks. This is why some adult years disappear, they are flat. And this is why time can still slow down, even now, not the clock. The clock will not help you. The clock only moves one way, but remembered time. The time you feel when you look back on your life is still being written. Every day, your brain is asking the same silent question. Do I need to save this? Most days, if you give it nothing new, the answer is no, and those days will vanish. But give it something unfamiliar, something meaningful, something difficult, something that breaks the pattern, and the answer changes. Save this. That is what a memory is, a small rebellion against disappearance. And maybe that is the real reason time feels faster as you get older. Not because life is shorter than it used to be, not because the universe is rushing you toward the end, not because childhood had some magic clock adulthood lost. It feels faster because more of your life has become predictable, and the brain does not record what it can already guess. When you were a child, the world was enormous because almost nothing had happened before. Now, the danger is that too much has happened already, and your brain thinks it knows how the rest goes, but it does not. That is the part worth remembering. Your brain can still be surprised. Your life can still grow new borders. A year can still feel long if you fill it with things your mind cannot easily compress. The years are not getting shorter, they are getting emptier, and your brain quietly and efficiently is throwing them away, so give it something to keep.